Good morning, Marianas, on this beautiful rainy day on Guam. It is 6:11 a.m. on Wednesday, July 27, 2022. I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny Rosario.
When we come back from this short commercial break, we'll bring you the top stories from Kandit and the Guam Daily Post.
As a defense attorney, I've represented many people who, if they weren't poor or they had received a higher education, may have taken a different path. As senator, I will propose a scholarship for those whose struggles are less academic and more financial. Let's keep our university full, not our prison. I'm Thomas Fisher. I not only approved this message, I wrote it.
Paid for by Tom for Guam, Drake Diaz, Treasurer.
When our political forefathers and foremothers laid the foundation for the Commonwealth, they dreamed of greater opportunities for our people.
In 1975, when nearly 80% of the people voted for Commonwealth, they too dreamed for a better life, for themselves and their children.
Nearly 50 years after the election of hope, we have forgotten how to dream like our ancestors did.
They dreamed of taking pride in being self-governing under the stars and stripes.
They dreamed of new opportunities to make a life in these beautiful islands. Today, abandoned buildings remind us of foreign investors who rushed in to make a quick buck, who then left us with empty buildings, monuments to forgotten promises.
We feel shame for a Commonwealth administration that's being investigated for corruption.
If we are to be the islands of hope and opportunity that our forefathers dreamed of, if we are to regain our pride in being self-governing under the stars and stripes, we need to be courageous enough to dream again. In the coming weeks, we will share with you our dreams for our beautiful islands. My running mate, Layla Fleming Staffler, and I will also share with you our plans to turn those dreams into reality. Layla and I invite you to make this journey with us.
We humbly ask for your vote. Let's make our collective dreams a reality in the Sablan Staffler administration.
By doing so, we will bring back pride in our Marianas.
This message is approved and paid for by the committee to elect Christina Sablan and Layla Staffler.
I remember Saipan, that's where my heart belongs.
Welcome back. Guam's first elected Attorney General, Douglas Moylan, is calling out his rival for the job this election, Levin Camacho, for the current Attorney General's failure to address the growing crime problem on island. In response to questions by PNC's David Eligio regarding the recent resignation of Prosecutor Rochelle Canto, Mr. Moylan said, quote, "The AG is no longer capable of carrying out his core function to protect the public's safety. They are literally in triage mode where the public safety is endangered. Ms. Canto's letter reflects just a portion of how bad it is and will get, unquote. Mr. Moylan said the Attorney General's failure endangers the public's lives.
The Guam Office of Public Accountability's recent audit of the government of Guam has revealed a staggering $41 million in question costs in the use of federal funds. The amount of question costs has grown substantially since the Leon Guerrero administration took office, ending a streak of virtually no question costs throughout the previous two Camacho and Calvo administrations. While the Leon Guerrero administration has prided itself on the appearance of fiscal responsibility, the OPA has raised issues of lack of proper documentation, the inappropriate use of sole source procurement, and several other fiscal management problems raised in the audit.
Meanwhile, you may have noticed an increase in ads by the administration using local and federal funds that appear to complement the Guam governor's political campaign ads. Senator Jim Moylan has sent the governor's office a request for production of documents to show how much in public funds the administration is using for these advertisements in the newspapers, TV, and radio, and the justification the governor's office uses to expend this money on these ads. According to Guam law, the governor's office has a certain time frame to produce these documents to Mr. Moylan.
And finally, in a story by John O'Connor in the Guam Daily Post today, the Guam legislature has passed Bill 325-36, the Power Credit Program for all residential, master metered, and commercial customers of Guam Power Authority. Bill 325 would grant $500 in credit to all residential, master metered, and commercial power customers, to be divided into $100 credits against customer billings over 5 months. The program initially was to be funded only through an appropriation from the fiscal year 2022 general fund, but was amended Monday to include fiscal 2021 excess general fund revenues and any federal funds that can be used for the purpose of the legislation. The measure passed unanimously.
You know, before we get to our agenda, I wanted to speak a little bit about the passage of this bill, and how, you know, the Guam legislature just continues to give a pass to the administration. You know, what the legislature should have done after hearing on the record testimony from Congressman Mike St. Nicholas, after reviewing the federal guidelines themselves, you know, that show that federal funds could absolutely be used for this $500 credit program, rather than saying, because it has no teeth in this bill that they passed, to say, oh, or you can use federal funds. So the governor can use federal funds with or without this bill passing, with or without a law for this program. So if the legislature wanted to put the governor in a corner and say, you know, Governor, you have $320 million in federal funds. You know, why don't you use this $500 per household or whatever credit? I believe there's 40,000 households and a couple thousand business establishments or whatever. It's not going to be all that much money. They should not have passed this bill. They should have just stuck it to the governor and said, if you want this to happen, use the federal funds.
Well, I'm thinking they felt like they were in a corner, because you give people the relief now or stick it to the governor, you know?
And the governor might not do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So which one is it? They're going to be blamed either way. But it's all of these things that are going on right now, I believe, are too late for the people, for the average citizen. This legislature has not really done anything these past 2 years.
They could have reduced the BPT. That probably would have been
done a lot.
One of the biggest things to help with the cost of living on this island. In our top story yesterday, it's a story called it's more of an opinion piece by me. It's called "It's the Economy, Governor."
Yeah,
you know, it's a play off of the Bill Clinton 1992 "It's the economy, stupid" line, right? And it's, I mean, while I like the story, I'm saddened by it. Like, when I read the story, I'm like, this is kind of sad, because of what business owners who we interviewed are saying about their situation. It's difficult for these businesses. These are small business owners.
It's difficult for us here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I can imagine, you know, It's difficult for me. I don't even do shopping anymore as much as I'd like to. Like,
Ross has not seen us in some time.
Real.
My goodness.
So yesterday I was watching a little bit of the legislature. They were live. I was trying to catch the bill being passed, but I caught the DOL on Dave De La Sola, Victoria Moffness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's just San Augustine, Joanne Brown, and Tello. And I'm sitting there listening to these people question Department of Labor and how they expended their PUA funds and all of that. Like, where are you on where's everyone else?
Yeah.
You know, they got money to the people. They got it done. They got it done on time.
Yeah. Like, why aren't you questioning BBMR for...
Exactly. For all of this misappropriation, this audit that came out, I don't understand. That. Then I just sat there and looked and listened again, and those guys want sound bites.
Yeah.
Because they're running...
Absolutely.
Because I'm wondering, where is everyone else in the legislature? Why is it only those two? And those two are tag teamers, and they want sound bites for their election.
And where are the checks and balances
right.
the legislature is supposed to be providing against the administration? So on our agenda today, I'm very honored at 5:30. I've been invited to Bob Klitsky's show, Tall Tales. Yeah. I'm super excited. I love Bob.
He's only had one other... in studio.
That's what Joe Cruz said. Yeah. So I'm pretty honored by that. So at 5:30, actually starting at 4 p.m. Don't forget to pay attention to Tall Tales on 93.3 FM. The Point. One of the stories that we'll be working on today is something that came up in session yesterday regarding the $500 credit, and we'll get greater context on this from the senators. But as they were talking about, or as they were asking the Director of Administration, Ed Byrne, about, I guess various and sundry fiscal items, one of the things that Speaker Therese Terlahi asked was, where's the $10 million from GMH? And this is an appropriation the legislature made 3, maybe 4 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago, that according to the Director of Administration, and he sort of just cast it away and deflected with something else. But GMH hasn't received that money. And we talk about surpluses in the government of Guam. Thank you for the federal funds. But where's this $10 million for what has been the most important agency of the government throughout the pandemic? So there's that. And then there are more and more people calling out Governor Lulian Guerrero for the use of federal funds and how her administration has applied or misapplied federal guidelines. Governor Felix Camacho, former Governor Felix Camacho, a few days ago issued a news release that was critical of the governor, and then others have been issuing statements critical of the governor. Can I just chime in on that? Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's calling out the governor now.
Where have they been?
Where have they been? I, in all honesty, even this whole thing about the shipping, in your story yesterday, that the whole shipping thing, we've been talking
since
about
2019.
that, and how it's going to affect us, and now we're at the effects of what we've been discussing. Well,
I mean, it would be a much sadder thing if Mattson gets its way in the U.S. District Court of Washington D.C. Without any of our leaders saying anything on the record, about their attempt to reattain a monopoly by kicking out APL, and we've seen.
Oh, the only person that has spoken about this is Bistra,
the
lady
Mendiola, the one running
she's
for
running
senator.
for senator.
Yes. But unfortunately, she's not a senator now.
Right.
But and hopefully, she gets in, and by the time she's there, it's not too late to do something. About this situation.
Well, let's get her on this show.
Yeah, we should. We should invite her to To the Point.
Well, get these in-depth stories on CandidNews.com and subscribe to daily news from the Guam Daily Post at postguam.com.
Today we'll start to move our studio for a live remote that we will be happening that we will have tomorrow night at the Hilton Guam Resort and Spa, where the Guam Medical Association will be hosting a gubernatorial debate that will include the Democratic candidates for both governor and lieutenant governor. Mm-hmm. I got the program from Dr. Vince Akimoto that shows there will be a 30-minute segment of debate between Governor Lulian Guerrero and Congressman Michael San Nicolas, a 30-minute segment between Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and Sabrina Salas Matsinani. And then what probably will be the funnest part will be a 30-minute segment with all four of them.
Yeah.
I don't know who the moderator is, but the last time the GMA did something like this, all hell broke loose on the stage. I think Patty Arroyo was the moderator, if I can remember correctly. And it was Carl Gutierrez versus Eddie Calvo. Oh, that was a fun debate. So as a special treat, so we're going to be doing the live remote thing from the Hilton beginning at 6 p.m. We'll have Dr. Tom Shea via Zoom with us for an interview about, what led to this debate, the issues that matter most to the doctors and to the medical community. And your guest commentators throughout this live stream on Kandit will be carrying it live. Will be Ray Gibson, Dr. Ron McNinch, and myself. And Ray and I have already committed to having a couple.
Yeah.
Beers.
Couple two, three, four.
A couple 2, 3, 4, 8. So the night will get fun as it progresses. And Eric's probably going to have to remind us not to cuss. We're very proud to bring you, beginning in August, a Filipino talk show hosted by our friend and our new teammate, Sally Aquino. We've been dubbing it Saturdays with Sally, but I think it's probably going to have a different name. It's a work in progress. Everything's being planned out now. If you want to advertise on that show, please give us a call or reach out to Sally Aquino. Now we ask, first, I'm so sorry, I forgot to ask you to load the Arla Sibitang. You got it? After you watch this montage that Eric put together of Arla Sibitang's memorial yesterday, it's a short montage, but actually I'm not going to watch it again because it's going to make me cry. After that, we ask that you you join us in turning our attention to The Ray Gibson Show on 93.3 FM The Point. He's also live on YouTube and live on The Point Guam on Facebook. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny Rosario.
Have a good morning.
Jones Act is a 1920 law justified on national security grounds as a means to bolster the U.S. maritime industry. It restricts domestic shipping to vessels that are U.S. built, U.S. owned, U.S. flagged, and U.S. crewed. However, this law boosts cost by banning foreigners from competing and forcing Americans to purchase ships that are up to 8 times more expensive than those built in other countries. The result is higher transportation costs. Shipping oil from Texas to the Northeast, for example, costs 3 times more than importing oil from Africa. Ultimately, consumers foot the bill. In addition, higher shipping costs push freight from ships onto other sources of transportation, such as trucks, which means more traffic and pollution. Meanwhile, this blatant protectionism has failed to benefit builders of ships in the U.S., whose production is less than 1% of those in China and South Korea. Domestic builders have seen over 300 shipyards close since the early 1980s. Jones Act defenders claim the law ensures adequate U.S. ships during times of war, but during U.S. deployments during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, foreign flagged commercial ships carried twice as much equipment as their U.S. counterparts. In fact, the U.S. was so desperate for shipping that it twice requested the use of a cargo ship from Moscow. Both requests were denied. So the Jones Act has failed to achieve its shipbuilding and national security goals while driving up costs for consumers. It's time for this outdated, costly, and ineffective law to be repealed. It's time to end the Jones Act.